Then down here we can put this submit button in the grid. We say submit button dot grid. We want this to be in row number 3 and row 3 and column number 1. This should do it. And if we run it, there we have it. Our button is just exactly where we want it. If we click this button now, nothing happens because we've not added a function to this button yet. We'll do it later. For now, let's go ahead and make some other widgets. Down here, let's put a delete entry down here where we can put a student ID and then click delete, and then it will delete a record. Let's first write a comment and say delete. Create delete entry. And then we give this entry a label first. We say delete label is equal to a label widget. And we want this to be in the root. We want the text to say delete. Delete ID. And let's just give it a padding in the x direction of 10. And then down here we can put this label in the grid by saying delete label.grid. We want this to be in row number 4 and column 0. And now we can make the entry for this delete ID. Let's say delete entry is equal to an entry widget inside the root. And we want the width, let's just give it a width of 30 as well. And then we can put this entry widget in the grid by saying delete entry dot grid. And we want this to be just in front of the delete label, so we put it in the same row, row number 4 and column number 1. And now the next thing we can do is create the delete button. So we can write a comment and say create the delete button. So we say delete button is equal to a button widget, and this button widget is going to be in the root, and we want the text to say delete. And then to put it in the grid, we do the same. We say delete button dot grid. We want it to be just below that delete ID entry. So it's going to be in row number 5 and column number 1. Yeah, this should do it. Now if we run it, and there we have them, our delete ID entry and the delete button. Actually, we forgot to make one more button here. Just below the submit button, we need to have the show records button where somebody can click it and then we can show the records down here. So let's create space for that. We do this by moving the delete label down. Let's put it in row number 8. And then this one as well, row 8. And then we can put this button in row number 9. And if we run it, it actually still looks the same, and that is because we did not put anything in that space. Once we put it, this delete ID entry and the delete button will be moved downwards. But before we do anything, let's just make those entries down below, the other entries. These are the update entries, whereby we can put an update ID, update name, update score, and then click the update button, and then a record will be updated. So we can write a comment down here and say, create the update entries. And to make my life easier, I'm just gonna copy everything here and paste them down below. And now all we have to do is change the names. So we can say name update label, and then we change the text as well to name update. Before we continue, let's just make an entry field for the OID here. OID stands for Object Identifier. We are going to use it to update a record. So we say OID label is equal to a label widget, and we want this to be in the root. And the text should say update OID. And let's also give it a padding in the x direction of 10. And then we can put this label on the grid by saying OID label dot grid, grid in small letters. And we want it to be in row number 10, and the column 0. And then for its entry field, we're going to say OID entry is equal to an entry field in the root, and the width should as well be 30. So we put this on the grid by saying, wrong spelling there, OID. OID entry dot grid, and it's going to be in row number 10 and column 1. Now we can change this and say this is going to be in row 11 column 0, and the entry field, we change the name as well, name update, and there too, name update label. And this one will be in row number 11 column 1. And we change this one as well, so it will be student ID update label. The text should say student ID update as well. Student ID update label dot grid. We want this one to be just below that name update, so it's going to be in row number 12 column 0, and its entry field we change it as well. And it will be in row number 12 column 1. We do the same for the score update. We say score update label. We change its text to also score update.